meet a lot of you guys. It's awesome being here. Let's talk about really cool to all you guys. I've been training a little bit over 10 years. I own a school in New Jersey. I'm a black belt. I've been a black belt for about 3 years. And the series that I'm going to teach you today is the Jedi Mind-Trick. So I learned this from Paul Schreiner. I'm in New Jersey, so a lot of our jiu-jitsu is very indirectly influenced by what's going on in Marcelo. So I've trained so many people that came from there, and it really influenced my game a lot. And one of the instructors there is a guy, Paul Schreiner, who has a system of the Jedi Mind-Trick, which counters a very, very common counter to your half guard. So if anyone here, raise your hand if you like to play knee shield half guard, get the underhook, sit up for knee tackle stuff. So what's one of the most common things that happens when you get the underhook? Back step, right? So you got to know that the back step's coming. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with the position. I'm going to make sure that we can replicate this situation perfectly, and then we'll go over a couple different counters for when they do the back step, okay? So Lisa, right? So we're just going to start by talking about the situation we're in, okay? For knee shield, I want to have my knee pointed up at the neck. I have my elbow always locking inside the knee, both arms blocking the crossface, and then I have my elbows in nice and tight. I'm going to be kicking my leg to slightly off balance, so I want to get her hand to go to the mat just like that. And then as I sit up, I'm going to rotate my hand under like this, okay? If I reach for underhook here, what's the problem? Space, right? She's going to get the underhook. So as I kick, I rotate down, I sit up, and I want to grab all the way around the hip bone, like this. Now as I fall, I like to block the knee and I fall to my side. And we're just going to start with that, okay? I know it's super easy, but we'll just start with this position, and then we'll build off of it. So as I go, I'm kicking with my top leg. I rotate my hand. I like to throw a fart underneath myself like this, so like that. I throw my leg off, grab the hip bone just like this, and as I fall, I'm not going to fall to my back. I want to fall to my side, almost bringing my chest to the mat. So I'm here, turning all the way to my side here, okay? And we're just going to stop just like this. So one more time. On my side. What's the problem here? What has to be where? Elbow inside the knee. So my elbow's in the knee, I'm blocking the arm. I'm going to kick with my top leg. I rotate my arm, I sit up, underhook, fall, and then I'm right in position here, okay? Let's start with this, just go back and forth, and then we'll come back in, and we'll go over the back step, and work into the Jedi Mind-Trick. Let's do it. Ready? Break. And my friend here, Lisa, reminded me to tell you guys that as it gets more complex, if you feel that you're benefiting from something a little bit earlier on, stick with that, because everything that I'm going to show you guys is stuff that I do all the time. You don't have to go into the crazy stuff. If you feel comfortable with it, give it a shot, but if it's a little bit too much right now, just do the best you can with what we get up to so far, okay? So I'm going to be inside Lisa's half guard this time, and typically we have a phrase in wrestling about how we defend. What's the order that we defend? Does anyone know? I'll be impressed.
Head first.
Head.
Arms.
Hands. Hips, okay? Very good. Let's stop. That was very good. Very nice. So as Lisa sits up to get an underhook, typically I'm going to try to get my head low to stop that space, right? But if she gets past that, right, if I can't get my head, this is where I'm going to be trying to pummel. But if she gets all the way here like this and then falls to the side, I'm not getting my head back in front of her head. And I'm also not getting my underhook back. So that takes us to our hips, right? So we now have to defend with our hips, and we're going to be switching our hips to defend this position. So right now the issue is she's too low on me. So I'm going to be backstepping, and I'm trying to also lower my body. So I bring both hands to the mat like this, I use my toes, I'm going to lift over, and as I step, I'm trying to shrink my ear into the chest, and I'm trying to shrimp away almost to get my right hip onto the mat. And we're not talking about passing from this position today, but I just want to make sure that we can all backstep before we talk about how to counter the backstep. So person on bottom could just lock their feet up right here, and I have my head in the chest. Of course there's sweeps that you could do from here, but if I'm the person playing half guard, I prefer not to get to this position, okay? So we're just practicing for the person on top. Person on bottom is going to sit up, get their underhook, right? They pull me down. I raise my hands because now I'm defending with my hips. I do a big step over, okay? Remember, we have to bring our ear where? There. Chest. So I'm not just rotating, I'm also lowering myself down to here. I'm getting a crossface, so this arm is under the head, shoulder into the neck. I like to shrimp away, getting my hip onto the mat, and we end up in this position. I've heard it called reverse half guard, negative half guard, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I'm here, ear in the chest, just like this. So this will be like the last setup drill, and then we'll get on into the actual Jedi Mind-Trick variations. All right, let's do it. Ready? Break. Now we're going to get on into the actual Jedi Mind-Trick. So we know the situation. From drilling, this might be something that now you realize happens all the time. You get this underhook, they backstep. This is also common as we get into the leg locks, where people try to backstep into the 4-1. Backstep is everywhere. And using the Jedi Mind-Trick and the variations on it, you have a counter ready for that type of movement, okay? And the reason why it's called the Jedi Mind-Trick is because we're going to like really surprise them. They're going to backstep thinking that they're going to land in that negative half guard, and they land somewhere, but it's not where they expected. They land like in a leg drag. And by the time they're there, they're like totally surprised at where they're at. And it's a pretty cool feeling to hit, and I hope that you guys drill it and put it into your game, okay? So once again, we're here. We're inside the half guard. I kick, I sit up for my underhook, and I feel Lisa starting to backstep. What I need to do is I need to be adamant about staying on my side, so I can't let her bring my back to the mat, okay? And if you guys have been training, you've probably heard your coach yell, stay on your side about 1 billion times in every position. This one's no different. As I stay on my side, I'm going to switch my hook. So I'm going to take my half guard hook off, so let's just go back a little bit. So as I feel her starting to step, I'm going to take my half guard hook off, I'm going to make a hook with this leg right here, okay? And now I'm keeping my body crunched, so I'm not going to bring my back flat. I could use my hand for help. I'm just going to arch out of the way so she falls into this spot. Now we're going to do a little bit of work with our leg here. So I have my 1 as the leg drag leg. My 3 leg is what's going to help me come up. And oftentimes they are on their elbow or their hand, and we're going to have to lift them over their base. So we're doing almost like a butterfly sweep. So if everyone could look at this foot here, I'm going to use my toes on the mat with my shoulder in opposition to lift up onto my knee, and then bring my knee in tight. We end in the leg drag, okay? As I do this, I'm keeping my foot flat and my knee facing forward like this. A lot of people have different types of leg drags. Some people do the leg drag this way. I feel like I get stuck here a little bit more. I like to have the leg behind them down and the leg under the legs up, okay? And I have my elbow in tight, hand holding onto the ribs, head nice and close. Now typically here, the person realizes that they're very far from getting back to their guard, so they're not going to turn back towards us. They're going to try to Granby, or stay on their side, or figure something out, or wonder why they didn't land inside the reverse half guard. So I'm just going to come around to the side, and I get my seatbelt, and then we're ready for our back takes. So we're here, we're inside the half guard, we have our knee shield, I kick, I sit up for the underhook, okay? Let's go back real quick. So if you guys look before the motion happens, all I'm doing is I'm taking my half guard foot off, and my other foot would be pinching in like this to make a butterfly. So here, we're in our normal half guard. As she goes, I take my foot off, I make my hook. Now I'm staying on my side. I don't want to kick with my leg. I'm just going to arch my body. So I do a little arch, and she's going to fall into the hole. If she comes up onto her hand, it's even more important that I use my toes to drive her off of the arm so I can come to this position. All right, and for me, I like the leg drag and no-gi because I come here, I throw to get into the heel hook in that position as well. So you don't have to use this to take the back. So we're here, kick, sit up, she goes back, and up and forward like that. Does anyone have any questions on this one? Any questions? All right, before we break, I want you guys to find just like a little spot where you can still see me, and just go onto your right side, just like this. So right side, here like this. What we're going to do is we're going to use our right toes to lift onto our right shoulder. So it's a little different than a lot of jiu-jitsu motions. So bottom leg lifts onto bottom shoulder, and then lift up to your knee and keep your leg out. Yeah. Yep. Yep, do it a couple times. So bottom toes, lift onto bottom shoulder, take your knee out, and then up into the leg drag position. Nice and low. One more time, guys. So here, bottom leg, lift onto bottom shoulder, and up just like that. All right, you guys look in real quick. So this is the main one, so I'm going to show you guys just one more time before we break. We're here on the side. I kick, sit up, underhook. She backsteps. I stay on my side. Very important. Arch and come up to finish in the leg drag. You guys ready to give it a shot? Yep. All right, let's do it. Ready? Please. Raise your hand if you're feeling pretty good with it. Good? Okay, cool. So we're going to spend another minute just on this one because this is really the most important one. Everything else is a variation off of this, okay? So everything else, this is kind of like a prerequisite. You have to do this first one, you move on to the next. So I want to show you guys just a couple common mistakes, and then we'll drill it one more time, and if you guys have any questions, we'll go over that now as well. So as I kick, the most common mistake that I see is people are backstepping, and this leg is kicking here, right? So this just creates too much space. It's going to be a scramble. Maybe she starts coming up. I'm trying to come up, and we end up in this position, right? So there's only one specific moment where I'm going to extend that butterfly leg. As I kick, I sit up. She goes. I'm keeping it crunched. I'm still keeping it crunched. And only as my knee touches the mat, as I come up, do I extend my leg. So I'm using my right toes to lift my right knee, and now I can extend my leg to get the angle of my leg drop. Now I can crawl around to the side. So it's only as we come up to our knee that we'll extend that hook, which kind of rotates their body and puts us in a good position for the leg drag. Does that make sense? Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? I saw a bunch of hands. Yeah.
Show it again, the same point that you showed.
Same part? Yeah. So here, back step, I keep my leg tucked, guys, I have control. Now I come up to my knee and I extend only at that point as I'm coming up. I heard a question over here.
Yeah. What if you end up hooking the other leg to prevent that back step?
So that's a great question, okay? And when we went over like the series, that's actually another thing that I do, but it's completely different than all of this. So I didn't want to show it, but that's a valid option too, okay? So what he's asking is some people do this one, where as they back step, we hook with the near side leg, open this leg out, and then extend to get to like this position, right? I like it, but as you can see, sometimes there's a little bit more motion. And my theory in this position is that what's happening is whoever counter is more efficient is going to win that scramble, right? And as we did the back step, what did we have to do in the back step? What are all the steps? Say, name some steps in the back step that we did.
Post your hands, raise your hips, swing your leg.
Right, and we had to lower our body, right? We had to lower our body, go over the body. For the Jedi Mind-Trick, it's one step. Take your hook off and put your butterfly. So it's a very fast motion. So when both people are competing for a scramble, I think the most efficient thing is going to be the best. Whereas taking those hooks out is a little bit more motion, in my opinion. But definitely not wrong. I know a lot of people that like it. Any other questions? All right, let's just do like one or two. Oh, question?
Do you only do it when she starts going for the back step? Because sometimes when they're hesitating, they fake back step.
You could force it sometimes, but typically I could feel when they're going to commit to it. Like I said, the back step is such a big motion that I find it often telegraphed. I mean, they're dropping their hands, they're like really starting to lift their hips, and you only have like a very small motion that you have to complete to do the move. All right? I spend just one more minute, then we'll go on to some of the cool variations. Let's do it. Ready? Break. All right, guys. So once again, if you want to practice the first one a little bit more, that's totally fine. I saw a couple questions, so I'll walk around if you guys still want a little bit of help with the first one. We're just going to do two variations. So this next one is one that you could just choose to do as you go for the Jedi Mind-Trick. And then the next one is based off of a reaction that's going to happen almost all the time that we can capitalize on to get to a more secure path to the back, okay? So for this one, we're going to go to the same position once again. I'm here, I kick it, I sit up for my underhook, and now at this point, what I want to do is take this leg from this side of her body to the other side, okay? So all I do is I'm going to push her away, I'm going to throw this leg over, and sit up into the heel hook right off of it, okay? So as she lands, I'm pulling my elbow back, connecting my hands, pinching my knees. I call this one the Sith Mind-Trick, because it's like the evil version of it. So we're here, I kick, I sit up, okay? As she goes, we've come to the same position where I've tucked my knee in, and I'm starting to take my right leg off. Where does this right leg have to go?
On the other side.
On the other side of the body, okay? So to assist my flexibility, I'm not going to completely just try to move my leg. It's going to be a compromise. I'm going to move my leg as I also move my partner. So I push her away, and I'm throwing my leg over, and as I establish the 4-1-1 position, it starts to rotate her, just like we did with the leg drag. So it's kind of turning her towards me. As I loop it, cup up, I turn to my side, pulling my elbow in, and as I get to the other side, my hands meet to lock up the heel hook grip, okay? And with your partner, you can just stop right at that point. So we're here, I kick, I sit up, and she goes, I'm going to push her away. So I push her towards my legs, not too far, because then we'll just undo the position. So I push, and why am I pushing? To assist my flexibility, right? So my leg. So I push, I'm extracting this leg, bring it to the other side, and now I'm just shooting my left leg up, so I'm extending my left leg that's under. My right leg meets underneath. I turn, I find the heel hook, and hands connect. I'm pinching my knees tight together like this. I want to crush their toes with my armpit, palm to palm, and it's just a slight hip in to finish. All right, so again, this one is like an elective technique. If you don't want to go for the back take, or to the leg drag rather, you can push them away and throw your leg over. You guys want to see it one more time? Yes. So here, I kick, I sit up, back steps, I switch the hook, push. All right, it looks crazy, but you guys will be able to hit this. If you practice it a little bit and understand just where that leg needs to go, you can hit it. And just one more thing. As you guys saw the variation where we did the leg drag, so if I just do the first one, I'm basically doing the same thing from the other side if I do this. So I'm just taking my leg over, and I could go into the 411 that way as well. Any questions before we work on it? Question?
Yeah, when you're going all the way around with your body there, it seems like that's not where their arm is kind of blocking you.
That's a great question. So a couple people asked me that before. So what he's asking is, as I kick, sometimes people post very close to your head. So you can go back step and post this really, really close like this. So as she goes to back step, I feel that I can't arch, right? Very simple. I just take my hand and I clear that out like that. All right, and that's going to happen a lot. People post their hands very narrow. We'll just swim our hand in, push it by, and that almost assists with the rotation that we want to get to a good leg drag position. All right, great question. Let's work on it. Ready? Break. All right, guys, so we're going to go on to one that's a little bit more difficult, but I'm going to try to explain it pretty simply. And this is one that's going to happen situationally based when we go on to the Jedi Mind-Trick, okay? So when we did the first one, I said that they do what? As you go out of the way, what do? Anyone? They fall. And do people want to fall? No. No. So they're going to base their hands very often, okay? They almost go to like a crab walk position. And what this does is it creates a post so we can't drop them into the hole, but it also creates space for us to go under and to create a new angle to get to the truck position. So this is the Jedi Mind-Trick, okay? So the great thing about this sequence is that every technique has a great name, okay? So we're here. I kick, I sit up, I get my underhook, she back steps. As I go, she goes, I don't want to fall into the hole, so she even maybe posts this arm. But look, she's created this space underneath. I'm going to open my foot, establish the hook, I could drop her down, and now we're in the truck. I have the calf crush, I can step on my foot, rotate, and then pull into the back take. Okay? So we're here. I sit up, underhook, she back steps, I'm here. As I go, she feels she's falling into the hole. So I can't now take her over two posts. So we use our knee in like a butterfly sweep to lift her over the one arm. I can't take her over both. So I'm going to scoop myself under slightly. I use my hook to hook, so my foot is going to her foot. I throw my leg through. Sometimes you have to do this little wiggle with your foot like this to get that hook. And now I could drop her into the hole here. Raise your hand if you're a little familiar with the truck position. Right, so now we're in our truck. We have our calf crush. We can step on our foot, rotate them through, establish our seatbelt. So although this one might be one of the more fancy ones or difficult, it's very common because people feel that fall and they post like this. And it creates the space underneath that we could get under and adjust our hip angle to get that. I think you guys in Europe call it spaghetti hook. Does anyone call it spaghetti hook? Maybe? All right, I don't know. Or that truck position, right? So we're here. So I kick, I sit up, she back steps. As I go, she doesn't want to fall. This is the space that we're looking for. I have to use my other foot to assist. I'm getting a bend in the leg. My foot comes from the outside. So my bottom leg stretches underneath from the outside. I throw my foot in, establish the truck. We could drive them down. If they stay up, it's okay. We can still do it. I just prefer to get them on the mat so that there's a surface for them to rotate over. I kick my heel, extend, and we find the back. Does anyone have any questions on this one?
Can I ask you a question about the previous one?
Sure.
I was having some problem because when I was doing the previous one, I was trying to pass my leg behind Lisa. She had roasted.
So let me see if I can prep. You know what? Let's get on into this one. I'll come over to you guys and we'll work it out. Okay? Yeah. Let's do it. Ready? Break. So I'm going to show you guys just like a 1-minute review of everything that we did, and then if we can take a big class picture, that would really be awesome. Did you guys like everything? Yeah. All right. Awesome. So we're here. We're inside the half guard. We talked about sitting up to get the underhook. We talked about our partner backstepping, right? So to get to the negative half guard, into the chest. So you're actually going to get to it. So you drop your hip. Yeah. So we talked about the negative half guard, how we don't want to end up here. So the first one that we did was just the original Jedi Mind-Trick. We sit up, they backstep, we switch our hooks. Arch can come up into the leg drag. Then we went on to the Sith Mind-Trick. So we sit, we come up, they backstep. We take our hook out, and then come into the heel hook. And then finally, we did the Jedi Mind-Trick, where as we go through the Jedi Mind-Trick, they post their hands. We establish our hook, sometimes we have to wiggle. And we rotate them here into the back take. All right? Thank you guys for coming. Let's line up for a quick picture, all right? Let's do it. Ready?